Well, you guys, Happy New Year! We are back, and it is now 2021. So, as always, welcome to Becoming the Podcast, which is a weekly podcast. We drop our episodes every Thursday. We talk about any and everything as we get up close and personal with people's journeys, their personal lives, their thoughts, their beliefs on different topics. So I'm actually really excited, you guys, because I get to make an announcement today. Drum roll, please. Janelle is now my co-host. Woo! So I know for people who haven't, if this is your first time watching, this is all you've seen. So Janelle is a co-host of Becoming the Podcast. If you've been watching for the last 2 episodes, Janelle also is all you've seen. So it's not anything new to you guys. But for my longtime listeners, this is new information because previously I was doing some episodes just with myself and special guests, but Janelle is here for hopefully the long run. So I'm excited to have you here. And I'm excited for you to be our co-host. So thank you.
Girl, I'm excited to be here. What are you talking about? This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Look, 1 in a million, baby. 1 in a million. But
Okay.
yes, I'm really happy to be here, MB.
Well, I'm always happy to have you. We always have such good conversations, and I feel like that is just shown through this podcast. So I'm super excited.
I know this is like regular conversations we used to have in the dorm. So
it really
it's taking us back.
It really is. Like this is our phone conversations just being recorded at this moment.
Basically so.
But girl, tell me about your New Year's. How was it?
New Year's was great, you all. I actually helped plan my cousin's proposal, so that was really sweet. If you guys don't know, I'm like a huge romantic, and so anything that deals with love and happiness, I am on it and I am for it. Okay, Black love, baby, Black love. I love it.
I know that's right. Well, my New Year's was good. For those of you that don't know, my anniversary is actually New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day. What I mean by that is I actually got married at midnight 2019 going into New Year's Day. So that's me and my husband's anniversary. So we had a good time. I mean, we just chilled at the house, but I made it special. We had dinner, we had food. We watched the ball drop on TV. And we actually were FaceTiming with our family as it did drop. So it was super fun. It was good.
Let me just say this, listeners. MB's wedding was so beautiful and one of the most unique weddings I've ever been to. Okay, we had a blast. I loved it. Girl, get married again. I need y'all to renew your vows again, baby. That's how
girl.
I had.
Girl, no, the funny thing is, I was on Facebook and there were people posting like videos of the wedding last year, like videos I hadn't seen. And there was one video that was like 5 or so minutes long that I reposted on my Facebook. Girl, why I was watching it New Year's Eve and I was sitting there dancing like I was actually at the wedding because it was showing the music and the people. I said, shit, this wedding was lit.
Yes, honey. I actually reposted stuff from Snapchat. You know how Snapchat do like a recap from the year previously? And I was like, you know what? Let me upload this. Yes. Because I was like, y'all just don't know. I had a ball. I had a blast. So cheers to 1 year down and a lifetime to go. I'm loving it.
Yes. The funny thing is, though, and I'll get off the wedding subject, you don't realize. So I planned my wedding to be an experience. Like I planned it to be fun. Like that was my vision. But because you're like the bride and you're in the background getting ready, moving, making sure everything's like set up and everything, I didn't realize how good it actually like turned out and like how it did come to fruition. So I'm just excited everybody had fun. I've gotten no like bad comments about my wedding. I am going to plan another event as COVID lets up. So I'm ready. Maybe not a vow renewal, but it will be a party.
Amen. I'm down. Just let me know.
Okay, so I do want to do a special shout out to all of our listeners. If you're listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, welcome or welcome back. And then also we are on YouTube. So you'll see certain things that we're doing. You'll see our facial expressions. Go over to I'm Just MB to check us out so you guys can engage with us. And New Year's resolutions. Have you broken any of your New Year's resolutions yet?
Yeah, I'm actually eating healthy, girl. I went to the grocery store, bought all fruits and vegetables and lean meat. So we're getting that started. I'm actually registered in some fitness classes too, body blast and yoga. And hey, I'm just ready to really get back focused. And then pay off some debt. I had actually paid up all my credit card debt last year, but some unfortunate events happened and I got them back up. But I am speaking this into existence.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the month, all these debts will be paid off. Okay.
Girl, well,
So
talking
yeah,
about
that's my goal.
today's episode. Shoot, money management, finances. Yes, 2021.
We're getting it together.
Yes, getting it together. But if you guys hear some clicking, or if you see this big old water bottle in front of you guys, trying to get my gallon in for the day. So that's one of my resolutions. Also with Janelle, eating healthy, all of that. So I've been working out. So I haven't broken any just yet. But I'm just trying to still stay on the journey. So we'll see where this takes me, and I'll share this with you guys. Okay. So for today's episode, let's get into the topic. We already told you it is about finance and money management. We actually have Issac Epps as our guest on the show today. He is the finance man. I'm super excited to talk to him. Both me and Janelle went to college with him, so we do have a little bit of history. And he's going to come on and give us just a little bit of advice, because I know as we're getting into 2021, we all have personal goals. I'm sure you guys have some personal goals, and those goals are influenced by money more than likely. So I'm super excited about that, and we'll have him up next.
Get ready. Put on your seatbelts, y'all.
Okay, guys, so we are back with Issac. Issac, I'm so happy. I know me and Janelle are very, very happy to have you on the show today. Before we get started, should we call you Issac or should we call you the finance man now? Like, what do you prefer?
I prefer Issac. That's what I've been going by my entire life.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we will call you Issac. So again, thank you for coming and coming onto the show and talking about finances. Just a little bit of background. I know I was thinking about it earlier as I was preparing for this podcast. I was like, I've known Issac since like 2012.
Yes.
So that, like, if we count, that's been like 8 years. Like, I met you back in like FSP, University of Kentucky, for those who know. Which is crazy to me. 8 years, and there's been so much change in like all of our lives. Like, you are doing your thing, you're out here. So much appreciated. Thank you again for coming on to the show. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have a few different questions we wanted to ask you. Today's topic obviously is all about finances and money management. To get off, I do want to talk about like goals. So we are at the very beginning of 2021. For a lot of us, money is going to be a huge factor into what we want to do for the remaining of 2021 or even going into 2022, whether that's starting businesses or other things. So what are some simple things we can do this year to get our finances in order?
Well, one, be intentional that you want your finances in order, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people, they'll start off their year saying 2020, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Like, especially when they're saying like, I'm going to buy a car, I'm going to buy a house. But instead of making the same wishes of saying, I'm going to pay attention to my budget or I'm going to spend less, like those are the things that you really, really want to think about in your head on a regular basis. What I highly encourage for my clients is to get one credit card or debit card, depending on, their spending habits, preferably a credit card so they can get some reward points so that they can start tracking their expenses more. And what happens if you have a really, really good bank that has a good app or something like that, it will give you like a pie chart. They'll tell you, okay, you're spending this much on food, you're spending this much on transportation, you're spending this much on whatever, right? And I always tell my clients that, if you show me your statements, I can tell you show you what you care about. I can show you who you are. So make sure that your statements match what your goals are. So that's my best advice for starting off 2021 is one, have that mindset that you want to get it done, and then two, have the tools to get it done.
That's great advice. I actually, I'm primarily use credit cards just myself, but I've never seen like the pie chart that you're talking about. So is that something that you would see like online, like with your statements or, okay, perfect. So I'm definitely.
My favorite card I use, I hate to advertise them because but I use Bank of America, and they really, really have a good tracking system. Like, I live by it. You can even set your budget, right? Like, I'll say, each month I want to spend about $1,500 or maybe $1,000, and it'll let me know like mid-month that, hey, you're getting really, really close to your budget, so you might want to watch it, buddy. You've been spending a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Something that keeps you up to date on a regular basis.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I'm gonna have to look at Bank of America. I do not bank with them, but maybe you can get a brand deal for them with all this
Right,
advertisement.
right.
So stimulus checks.
Yes,
So we are on our second round of stimulus checks. A lot of
yes.
people are wanting it. A lot of people are needing it. For the people that don't need it for like basic living needs, what are some things that we can do to prepare ourselves for, wanting to start that business, wanting to buy that new car, wanting to do all of those goals we want to achieve? Like, what can we do with that money now? Like, what are some good techniques or in a sense?
Number one, if you have any credit card debt, pay that down first. The reason why I say that is because credit card debt has a very high interest rate and it compounds daily. Now, I wish I can go into more details about what compound interest is. Just know that if it, things can compound yearly, quarterly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever, but the more it compounds, the worse it sounds, right? So credit cards compound daily, daily. So highly, highly, highly recommend if you have any credit card debt that you use your stimulus check to pay down your credit card debt first. Then assess any other financial instruments that you have, such as a car loan or a mortgage. I say anything that's higher than really 15%, in my opinion, pay that down. And if you pay that down, then you might want to look into maybe invest into stocks or starting your business, depending on, which one you think is going to flip the best. In my opinion, I always invest into myself. I love to get some money from the stock market, but I would love more to build onto my reputation, my business, my name. So that's how I look at it.
And for others who want to save, how much or what percentage should they put in the bank for savings?
So I am very controversial when it comes to this. I believe that it's very important to at least keep about 3 to 6 months worth of savings into your account. But I don't recommend throwing money into a savings account that much because it has a 1% interest rate that compounds, I want to say yearly, maybe monthly, if that. And if you really think about it, if you have money just sitting into a savings account, you really could have just put it into the stock market where it's hard to say what you're going to get on a yearly basis, but on average, you can probably see up to 15 to maybe even higher percent return from the stock market. So literally just having your money sitting into a savings account is costing you money. When I was in finance class, there was something called the time value of money. And I think a lot of my clients don't understand that concept, right? Because money, technically, if you just have it sitting, is losing value. Remember that everything is inflating with prices, right? So a dollar today can buy less a dollar tomorrow, right? So that's why you don't want to just sitting there at less than 1% or 1% interest rate. You really want your money to go out there and go make some friends. And it can't make friends in a savings account staying at home. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I heard you say stocks. So what stocks should people look into? What are some good brands to invest
Yes. One thing I tell people is, people get so caught up with the concept that, it's complicated, so I don't want to get into it. Man, I don't want to lose no money. When I was in school, to be honest with you, they told us that you could get a dart and randomly throw some darts at it, and it will outperform some of the top people recommending stocks for you, right? So I don't really like recommending stocks. What I like to do is just get people excited about getting into the stock market because that's really all you have to do, right? Now, you can look at some of the top investors. Warren Buffett is one of them, and he actually gives you his portfolio, right? His portfolio percentages, all the businesses that he invests in. That's simple. Why don't you just do what he's doing? Now, it's not the best route for everyone, but that's a good way to get started. And as you invest more, you start looking at trends. You start, realizing that there is somewhat of a way to predict the market, but on average, that the line, even though it may dip a little bit, is still slowly rising.
Right. So you talked a lot about stocks and like not suggesting specifically what stock you should use because there's blueprints out there. Like you said, Warren Buffett, you can see his portfolio and what he's investing in. I think my follow-up question to that is what would be the first step that you would suggest with setting up a stocks? Like outside of like seeing what maybe Warren Buffett or researching some of the top money-making men out there or women or individuals, should we be seeking like professional help? Because I know there's people that are finance advisors, things like that. Should we be seeking their help or just trying to kind of figure it out on our own?
Well, if you can afford a financial advisor, I do highly recommend using them because, you know, everyone has their skill sets, right?
Mhm.
I actually used to work under a financial advisor who was also a CPA. If you know, when I was in the University of Kentucky, I was studying accounting and finance, and I just so happened to get the blessed opportunity to work under him. And the things that he was able to do and recommend to his clients, a lot of people don't know anything about, like REITs,
Mhm.
for example, right? Some a very, very good investment. So I do highly recommend to get a CPA if you can afford it. What they usually earn off, because you know their whole goal is to earn you money because they earn a
Right.
percentage of your investment, right? So they're invested into it, and I love those type of situations, right? Even with your business,
Mhm.
right? If you invest into a company, they have to perform a service for your company. You know, their form of feeding their kids relies on you, so they want your company to succeed. So that's why, you know, that's a very, very good relationship to be in. They want to
Right.
grow your investment because they only earn about 1 to 2% from your earnings. So I do recommend doing that. But just to get into stocks, just for the regular day person, I just highly recommend them just to get into the market, right? Like
Mhm.
buy some Walmart stock, for example. When the stock starts dropping, buy more Walmart stocks, right? Because it's cheaper. Don't be afraid that that you might, you know, the value of what you bought went down. That's a good thing. That means that you can get it at a discount. At the end of
Mhm.
the day, it's about the long run, right? In the long run, Walmart is always going to grow. That's just how it works.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, and then another follow-up question to that, and maybe a silly question, so
Mhm.
be patient with me. Where do we actually buy stocks?
Yes, there's several apps that you could use, whether it's Robinhood. Me personally, I use Cash App because from time to time I'll get some form of income from Cash App, or I guess I shouldn't call it income. Someone will send me money through Cash App, and
Mhm.
since I already had that money there, it's just like, well, I can have it sitting here. Remember, we said that there's time value with money, so I can have it sitting here where it's losing money, or I can go ahead and shift over. Just simple on the app, click on the stock portion, look up whatever stock I want to buy, and purchase it. What I love about Cash App as well is that they allow you to see the news that's going on with that stock or any stock that you favor, which is important, right? I teach my
Mhm.
followers that the news is part of the stock value, right? Investors make decisions based off of not just the financial statements, but also, unfortunately, by the news as well, which causes sometimes for people to either sell a stock that they probably shouldn't sell, or they'll buy a stock that they probably shouldn't buy, which is able to make the true value of that stock go up and down. So you can take
That
advantage of
makes
it.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense because that explains why the stock market goes down when, coronavirus numbers are higher and things of that nature. So yeah, that makes
Exactly.
complete sense. Okay, well, Janelle, it is time. Isaac, it is time for our fun part of our episode. We have a new segment, you guys. It is called This or That. So Isaac, we are going to ask you a few statements. So it'll be like either you choose this or that. You're going to have 5 minutes to complete a few different statements, and all you have to do is pick one and then defend your answer. So easy enough?
Okay, that works.
Okay, so let me go ahead and get the timer started. First one, saving or investing?
Investing.
Okay. And then just
Okay.
quickly defend.
Oh, investing, because if you're saving, you're pretty much losing your money. You know, there's again time value with money. And inflation's always going to be here. So if you're just saving and not investing, you're losing money. You're not even saving, you're losing money, literally.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay.
Cash. Oh, go ahead, Jenna.
Oh, you're good. So cash or credit?
Oh, credit. I have to say credit because I'm the finance man. Although it's very, very beautiful to be able to use your own money, finance is the study of how you get projects going. So that's either using liabilities, which is, you know, your debt instruments, or your equity, which is someone else's money. So I always think it's very, very, very important that you take control and have a healthy relationship with credit, because if you come in and you have, I don't know, you're making $100,000 with good credit, you can be able to finance $1 million projects with credit.
Nice.
Mm.
Okay, this is an interesting one. College or starting a business / learning a trade?
Ooh, golly, I'm gonna say both. College.
Okay.
And the reason why I say college is not necessarily just for learning, but also because of the networking opportunities. I think that although like if you would have met me in high school, I was really, really quiet. Most of my high school, even though, it was a very, very small graduation class, I highly doubt anyone remember me from my graduation class. But when I went to college, I knew how very, very important it was to network, because it was the only way for me to be able to get a career right after college, right? So being able to learn the early stages of networking is so important. You two actually went to college with me, and we've been able to utilize that ability in our university, which is the University of Kentucky, one of the best, or the best university in Kentucky. Go ahead.
Shout out to the
cat.
Okay.
All right. So loans are personal money.
Loans are personal money.
Yeah.
It just depends on. I would go with loan, but it just depends on what you're able to negotiate as far as the APR rate with those loans. Sometimes, if you really, really think about it, if you can get a loan at a very, very small APR rate, they're pretty much giving you free money. Think about that, right? If there's someone's willing to give you $100,000 at 10%, and you can get maybe a 12%, 13%, 15%, 20% return on it. Think about that, right? They literally gave you free money so you can go make some more money. So again, I'm the finance man. I'm always going to tell people to finance your projects with other people's money.
I know that's right. Real estate investments are stocks.
I would say stocks, because historically, his stocks have outperformed most real estate projects. Now, man, that was a tough one though, right? Because I actually invested into real estate, but it was very, very important for me to gain some cash flows, and not everyone is willing to be as creative as I am when it comes to making that type of real estate money.
Okay. So we have the FHA or the conventional loan.
It just depends on your situation, but me personally, I went with the FHA because it allowed me to put less money down. Again, I'm a big component of using other people's money. Although I had to pay like PMI, it allowed me to put less money down today, so that I had more capital to funnel other projects.
Okay, and we're coming up on our last minute, and we have one more question, so perfect timing. Okay, 401k or Roth 401k?
I will go with Roth 401k if you're young, because although you may pay taxes right now, I'm pretty sure this is probably the lowest tax bracket that you're ever going to be in, right? And one of the biggest ways of saving money is by reducing how much you're paying Uncle Sam. So being able to pay that tax right now, that may be like 10%, 20%, I mean 10%, 12% is way better than have to pay it at 20%, 40%, even 50%, depending on how successful you are when you retire.
Nice. You finished with 30 seconds left. You're great at this game. We were able to get through all of our this or that. So thank you.
Good.
Okay. So I know we both have some personal questions just with some of the things that we're working on with our goals for 2021. I'll go ahead and let Janelle go first.
Okay, perfect. So one of my questions was, do medical bills affect your credit score?
Medical bills don't affect your credit score unless you don't pay them and they go into collections. So it's very, very important that, and that goes with any bills like your electric bill, your water bill, none of that stuff counts unless it goes into collections. When it goes into collections, that's when it becomes a huge issue. So it's very, very important to pay your bills on time. But if you can't, please arrange some type of arrangement with them to keep your credit from being affected.
And I think you just answered my second question. What are some ways that people can get the amount reduced if their bill does go into collections? Because, some people, they're actually able to get that settlement reduced to a lower, amount. So what are some ways that can go about doing that?
Well, one, I want to make sure I throw in, if you have insurance, make sure you use your insurance, even if it was a past, accident. And if that time you had insurance, you just, for some reason, it didn't, I don't know, click. It's still the insurance responsibility to pay it as long as you was paying insurance at that time. Two, if you do not have the funds to pay your current bills, just be honest with them. Call one of them, call the company that holds your bill, and just try to make some type of arrangement. People want to, to them, it's better off to make an arrangement with you as opposed to selling it to a collection agency, because they're literally selling it for pennies, right? They might be your $10,000 bill, they might sell it for $1,000. So they would rather make some type of arrangement with you as opposed to losing out on some money.
So what if you have a dispute, like a medical dispute? Would you actually send them off a letter, or how would you go about that?
A medical dispute?
Yeah, you know how some companies might, well, some hospitals might charge you
Mhm.
incorrectly,
Yeah.
and the insurance did not pay for it because they're like, yo,
What
we're
is it?
not paying for this.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so you might still have that bill left over, and you're like, well, shoot, if you didn't do the job, I'm not paying you either.
Yeah.
So in that type of situation, then what?
Me personally, I would tell someone to discontinue paying for it, because you don't want to get into a situation where, again, they throw into collections. However, while you're paying for it, continue disputing it. And if the disputes don't go correctly, make sure you got everything documented, emails and everything of that nature, and take it to legal actions. As long as you was continuing paying for the services and whatnot, you should be able to do well in court, especially if you believe that the whatever dispute you have is true.
Okay, perfect. That is good for the people. Thank you. And
Yeah,
then,
I think thank you. My question is centered around business, because I am starting a few businesses that I've been doing, and I have had a previous business we talked about in some previous episodes. But I know there's so many things you can classify your business as, where like LLC, S corp, C corp, like all of that, and it gets really confusing. So what is the advice you would give for like a person starting out, maybe this is their first business, and maybe let's say they're going into they're just selling products online, like some type of product online. Like, what would you give them advice with classification and setting up everything?
Well, one, don't ever get too afraid of hiring a CPA. A CPA is very, 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 very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tax deductible service, right? Two, just don't make things too complicated, right? You can refile your company if you want to in the future. So for me personally, Isaac Epps, the finance man, is a sole proprietorship in Golden Property Management LLC, which is where I do my rental property is an LLC. Because of the liability portion, like if any of my tenants want to sue or anything of that nature, I'd rather them not have access to my assets.
right.
And with Isaac Epps the finance, oh yeah, and Isaac Epps the finance man, I don't think I'm ever going to get sued. So there's no point of having to pay an annual fee for an LLC, because I don't think I'm going to be sued for this, and I don't plan on selling any shares of this business. So that's how I kind of look at it. Without a CPA, is what is the real chance of someone actually suing me, and do I
Okay.
really need an LLC?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes complete sense. So we also have a few guest questions that we wanted to ask you. So our first question is, what tips do you have for saving for a house?
The tip that I have for saving for a house is very unorthodox, but I recommend people to go back home. And this is why. There's something called debt to income ratio. Your debt to income ratio is a measure of all your debt. So that's, your minimum payments to your credit card. So not like if you have $2,000, they're not counting $2,000. They're counting that minimum payment.
Mm-hmm.
Your car lease, any, your rent and all that. Most of the times, the biggest part of that debt part of it is built up of your rent. And then the bottom part of it, of this equation, is your income. So if you're not able to increase your income, the best way to decrease this ratio is to decrease your expenses. And if you take out that rent portion, you're able to look better for the bank. So just simply by taking out that rent portion, you can save yourself thousands of dollars. Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously, like this is the technique that I did. As soon as my apartment lease had ended, at the time I applied when I had an apartment and whatnot. My APR rate they offered was 3.25. Took away the car. I mean, took away the apartment. They was able to lower it down to 2.75. That difference, that 0.50% difference, took my down payment from 15,000 to 10,000, and my mortgage from 1,400 to 1,300. So if you do the math, That's over 40 bands saved over the course of the loan. So I
Right.
highly recommend for you to just try your best to eliminate those little expenses, especially if you can just take out, the minimum payment, take out the car note, take out the house. And then, especially if you're making like, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 bands, like, and now your DTR ratio is less than 9%. Like mine was, I think at the time was 2%. Like, looks good for the banks.
Yeah, I definitely second what you said. That's exactly what I did. I was at home, I was saving money, and then that's how I was able to get that lower down payment and everything because a lot of my debt was actually like gone. So yeah, I completely agree with you. We also have another viewer question. So, how do you save for retirement when your company does not have a 401k plan? The viewer wants to know, do you suggest a Roth or personal savings?
I'm not sure how old this viewer is, but I'm just gonna assume they're probably maybe less than 45. And you can get something called a Roth IRA, which is just an individual retirement account, and still do the same thing as far as a 401k Roth account.
Gotcha. Well, Isaac, is there any? Well, before we get to that, Janelle, is there any other questions that you have?
I do not. But take that back. If someone is buying a house, how much would you recommend to put down percentage wise? Would you put down 10%, maybe even 20 if they haven't saved up?
It depends on the person in the situation, right? And I hate to make things black and white because literally it can get a little sticky here. If you're gonna live in the home for a long period of time, I probably recommend you go ahead and do that 20% so you don't have to pay that PMI, private mortgage insurance. In my situation, I went ahead and did an FHA loan, was fine with paying that PMI because I'm renting out the spaces in my house. So it was more important for me to have a lower down payment as opposed to trying to beat out that PMI. Because to me, it was just like, I can get the revenue from them and be able to flip it that way. You can always refinance as well too.
That too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Isaac, you have dropped gems. Like there is so much information I know I've taken away. I'm sure there's plenty of information Janelle's taken. I know our listeners are going to appreciate all the information that you're sharing. I definitely want to give you the opportunity to talk about what you're doing. I know you have some classes that are coming up and a lot of videos that you're sharing. So go ahead. This time is yours.
Thank you. So my name is Isaac Epps. I run a Instagram account called Isaac Epps, the Finance Man, where I'm trying my best to teach business and personal finance in less than 60 seconds. So if you ever watch any of my interviews, you know that I actually kind of believe that business and personal is the same thing because you can run a business under your own social security number. So technically you was born a business. And I also do credit repairs as well to assist people with lowering their interest rates. So it's not just about improving their credit scores, but it's also teaching them how to negotiate APR rates, especially for African Americans, because a lot of us don't realize that the first thing presented to us is not the best rate. By living, I am a purchasing supervisor, so I am honed in on how to negotiate. So just teaching people that aspect as well, and then hopefully encouraging them to run a business because there's just so many benefits of just at least trying your business idea. So that's what I do every day. I hope that everyone tunes in, follow, share my content because that's the best way that we're able to educate our people.
Gotcha. And can you just shout out your Instagram page one more time for us?
Yes, my Instagram page is Isaac, ISAAC, Epps, EPPS official. So Isaac Epps official.
Got you. Well, I definitely believe in giving people their flowers while they're still here. So I just want to say you've been doing great work. I know everything that you're doing is just to help our community, to give them the information. And that's why you give it in such easily and accessible ways. So continue to keep doing what you're doing. You are going to shoot off just like that. And you have bright things ahead of you. And thank you so much for being on our podcast. Again, the information was just very valuable. So is there any lasting tips that you have for our viewers or just anything lasting words you want to say?
Yes, save and three things I'm going to say. Save your money. 2, open a credit card for your kid so they can start building their credit right now. And 3, open a business for your kid. so they can build business credit. build business credit, so their credit score and their business credit is already good by the age of 18, and they're not even stressed when they get to college. So that's 3 tips I'll leave with you guys.
Well, thank you. Definitely agree. If I would have known what I know now, I would have started saving when I was in kindergarten. But well, thank you, Isaac, for being with us. Again, we appreciate all the advice you've given us. We appreciate you for being a guest on our show.
Of course. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, you guys. So that brings us to the end of that brings us towards the end of our episode. So we definitely want to do the If You Don't Know, Now You Know segment, which is a segment we're always going to do when we have guests, because we are learning just as you guys are. We're hoping that you're learning as much as we are and growing from all of the information that our guests are sharing with us. So if you don't know, now you know. Not going to finish that statement. But Janelle, so what is one thing that you learned from this episode?
Girl, Isaac taught me to stay my ass at home instead of buying a house. Okay. But being for real, make sure you all pay off your credit card debt. Be responsible, okay? And make sure you guys are actually paying more than your minimum payment that is due. Pay more so that interest can go down. And then also just invest your money. Those are the top 2 that I learned.
I definitely learned a lot about like stocks. Because I'm one of those people that I always say, like, when I get a little bit of extra money, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna invest it. Oh, I'm gonna invest it. But I'm like, I don't actually know how to invest. So it was like good getting kind of like some of the basic steps. I liked how you talked about like Warren Buffett and how he actually publishes his portfolio. So making sure I'm looking out for those individuals. And then I also like that he kind of gave us some like clues. Like I didn't know Cash App did that. I had no clue that you could go to Cash App and like invest through that app. So it's pretty interesting.
Hey, I'll be on there tonight looking through.
Girl, me too. Shoot, with the stimulus coming, I'm about to use a little bit of that money and invest a little bit of it. So,
you know what? I'm a little hater right now because I still haven't got mine yet. So,
really?
Yeah, I just want to know why I wasn't first. No, just play.
Better. Micah, my husband, didn't get his from the last time, and he's been calling the little IRS or whatever, whoever you call it, the government. He still hasn't got it. I don't know what it is.
What? That's crazy.
Girl, it is crazy. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of our episode. Definitely, if you aren't following us, definitely follow us on Instagram. Like you guys saw earlier on the episode, we actually asked some of like the viewers questions. So we'll from time to time get on our stories and be like, hey, we have this episode coming up, or what do you want to hear from us next? And you guys are actually able to put your own input in. So, follow our stories. Feel free to DM us if you have any additional questions about episodes. Like we'll go back to previous episodes and talk about them. So you can find me at I'm Just MB.
And you can find me at Beautiful J. That is BEYOUTIFULJ. And also you can check us out on Clubhouse on Thursdays, okay? We will also be talking about our segment for today, finances. Check us out each week on Clubhouse, okay?
Yep, we'll be there at 9 p.m. EST. So I'm excited about this episode because it's gonna be our first time like hosting a room on Clubhouse, so this should be interesting. But come on over.
Yeah, that's fine.
So as always, if you find yourself at the end of this episode, you already know what to do. You need to you need to subscribe. We want to definitely be more discoverable to people who are listening to podcasts and viewing us on YouTube. And we want to make sure that you continue to be able to see when we have new episodes coming out. So we're friends now. Come on, support your friend. It's 2021. Support is what it's all about. So like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions or, if you just think we're doing a good job. So
let us know how y'all feel. Please do.
Well, that is it for us. Until next time, it's your girl MB.
And your girl, Janelle.
See you guys next week. All right, how do I end this? I always do that at every episode.